impromptu video. Anthony, the first of the Cypher Unlimited guys, did his top 10 Monte Cook Games products list. And the other two are going to be doing it soon. In fact, Al is messaging me right now being like, giving me hints, not giving me his list, but giving me hints on what it's going to be and stuff like that. So I'm going to do one of my own. It's not going to be scripted. I'm just going to be rambling. I've had like 3 coffees tonight and a whole bowl of Takis. So I'm uncomfortable and I'm just going to talk as a result. That's what I'm going to do. Probably why my voice sounds like shit as well. Coffee and Takis is not a good mix. Anywho, we're going to get into my top 10 but first, we're going to do a bonus one, because if Anthony Spiggs gets to do a bonus one, I get to do a bonus one. My bonus one is Neon Rain. And you're like,
Ked, Neon Rain isn't out yet.
I know. But one, I got to be in that playtest which run by Sean K. Reynolds, and I had a stupid amount of fun. It was super, super awesome. It was a blast. 2, Cyberpunk is right up my alley. I love Cyberpunk. I've run like Cyberpunk one-shots. I have that one shot on my channel. I don't know why I'm pointing behind me. You're watching it right now. I guess down below. That had like Bob World Builder, Dungeoneers Pack, Ted from Nerd Immersion, Platinum Dragon X, and who else was in that one? Jess Penley from Underground Oracle, I think. And I don't know. I've been in entire Cypher campaigns for it. It's just super awesome. And Sean K. Reynolds is putting his heart and soul into it. And the last couple of toolkit like white books that they've released, I mean, all of them have been good in one way or another, but the last few, oh my gosh, the last few have just been knocking it out of the park. So I have high hopes for this one. High expectations. Hear that, Sean? High expectations. You can't let me down. This is why my bonus is going to be Neon Rain. I know it's not out yet, and I know when it comes out, there's a very, very good chance it's going to go into my top 10. So we're going to do that. It's my list. I can do whatever the hell I want. So it's going into my bonus. But let's get into the actual list, shall we? Number 10. I wasn't sure where to put this one. I wanted to put it higher. And at one point when I was crafting the list, it actually was higher because I adore this book so very, very much. But it's Ptolus. Ptolus has existed for a long time. When people think of the Cypher system, they think of Numenera, and rightfully so. But Ptolus has kind of been around for longer because he started the precursor to Ptolus as a campaign, I believe back in his TSR days. It sort of evolved over time into a 3rd edition product, and then eventually it was a 5th edition and Cypher product. And Ptolus is an amazing setting. It is such a detailed and fleshed out and just wonderful book. If you want all the answers for the setting there, but still leaving enough possibilities that you can really expand upon it and do some awesome shit, Ptolus is the way to go. It's such a good book. It's so well written. It's written a little bit differently than most RPGs, but in such a good way. It's almost written more like a guidebook than anything else, and it's amazing. And honestly, you could take the vast majority of the book and use it system agnostic. You could play any system with it. So Ptolus is begrudgingly my number 10. And looking at the list now, I wonder if I should have placed it a couple higher. It's hard. Doing these lists is hard. Monte Cook Games has so many good books. So many books that just bangers. So I will begrudgingly put it as low as 10. But remember, this is out of like how many books? Like Monte Cook Games has a lot of products out. So top 10 was really tough. My number 9 is probably going to be Claim the Sky. I like superheroes. I played a lot of superhero campaigns. One of my, I'd say a turning point for me and my YouTube channel and everything like that was Postmasters of the Universe. The one that I ran with Indestructible, Discourse, Treant Monk, Bad Hair Gaming, and Mr. Tarask. I feel like that was a turning point for my channel. I'd already started, I was growing a little bit at that point, and it was it was when I first started being like, hey, I kind of want to do some shit with my channel. And running superheroes, running Claim the Sky was a big deal for me. And you'd think I'm such an MCG shill that they've sent me a whole bunch of free books. It is the only book I've gotten 100% from free from them. They've given me discounts where the book itself was kind of free and I've had to pay shipping, or I've had the Cypher Unlimited guys help me get most of the white books. But Claim the Sky is the only one I've gotten like shipped to me wholesale for free from Monte Cook Games. Is that why it's on the list? No, it's on the list because of all the superpower shit and all of the ideas of how to run super games. And it's just, superheroes are dope. Yo, I want to do something like The Boys. I need to Claim the Sky, and it's going to tell me how to do that. Number 8 is Path of the Planebreaker, which you might think, knowing me, is kind of an odd choice. I mean, I normally go in for more of a sci-fi angle. I'm not as much of a fantasy dude. When I started playing RPGs, it was Dungeons and Dragons back in the TSR days. And Monte Cook and some other people you might know were working with or for TSR and like the early days of like other stuff, even Wizards of the Coast and stuff like that. Planescape was one of my favorite campaign settings. I liked a lot of the different settings. I played like Birthright and a lot of other different ones. But Planescape was one of my, it was the one I probably gravitated to the most, and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of friends. It was a very big turning point in my life. Despite evolutions in the systems over time, despite Planescape being reprinted in basically every edition. I'm not sure if there's a 4th edition version or not. I mean, it wasn't around very long, right? But there's been a 5th edition version of Planescape. It doesn't feel the same. That was until Path of the Planebreaker came out. There's both a 5e and a Cypher version, which once again, very smart from a marketing standpoint for them to do. Path of the Planebreaker, to me, ended up invoking that same feeling I felt. I remember looking at like the Planeswalker handbook back in the day, or running Dead Gods. I enjoyed. I had a lot of fun. We made like a mini, like a full campaign out of Dead Gods, and there was just something about the feeling that was very different that I haven't been able to capture till now. And Planebreaker is very well fleshed out. I had a Planebreaker campaign very recently. It was really cool. And we were like hopping around. It was Path of the Planebreaker, kind of mixed a little bit with the Strange. Like we kind of like blended them together a little bit. It was really, really cool. And the Path of the Planebreaker has some really, really nice companion stuff to it. The character options book is a banger. I almost wanted to put it on here, but I'm just going to put Path of the Planebreaker just like the main book for now. I really like it. It's super good, and if I'm gonna do fantasy, I think this is my last like fantasy in the list. Ptolus and Path of the Planebreaker were pretty much it. Everything else has like slightly different genres to it. If I'm gonna play something like this, something fantasy, Path of the Planebreaker is probably one of the ones I'm gonna gravitate towards. So really like it. It's really good. My number 7 is Rust and Redemption. I like sci-fis, I like horrors, I like post-apocalyptic. They all kind of blend together sometimes. And not only is Rust and Redemption within a genre that I really, 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 really enjoy, the book is amazing. Floored me. In this new batch of the genre like toolkit books that they've released, commonly known as the white books, Rust and Redemption I think was one of the first ones leading this charge, where it's I mean, they've always been good, but these new books are just astounding us. Now, I haven't played enough with It's Only a Magic. I actually haven't played with any of the rules in it yet. I read it, and that one wowed me as well. But once again, I'm not as big of a fantasy guy, so I don't do magic stuff as much. That's the only reason it's not in this list, because that book's a banger as well. But Rust and Redemption is in this list because I not only like it, but I'm actively using it. And it's one of those, once again, one of my highest compliments I can give a book is it useful to actually take down from your shelf and actually reference now and again? Or do you just use it that once or twice and then you just kind of like leave it be? Rust and Redemption is very much one of those ones where you're going to want to take it down now and again and read it and reference it and take the cool shit from it. It's got lots of neat tables, lots of character options. It's just a really good book. My number 6, Old Gods of Appalachia. I like horror, and I've actually run very similar games to this before with that like eldritch horror, Lovecraftian type vibes. I had a adventure that I used to run at conventions called Horror on Dewberry Hill. It was exactly this, like that I'm probably going to rewrite that adventure for Cypher system and say that it's totally a thing you could be doing in an area like the Appalachians, for example, because, licensing. Old Gods of Appalachia is so good, so amazing. The character options are where you want them to be. It's not that it's blowing me away with new stuff per se, but it's where you want them to be. The rules are exactly what you need them to be. Everything is streamlined and put in such a way that it's where you need it to be to play that game. And then you mix in all of the well-written information to play within the world. And Old Gods of Appalachia is just such a good book. And it's right up my alley. Old Gods of Appalachia, my number 6. Number 5, and you're probably going to be surprised this one's not higher, but it's The Stars Are Fire. That is the white book, the toolkit book, genre book, whatever you want to call it, for sci-fi. And to me, the only reason this isn't higher is the fact that The Stars of Fire, although it gives some small rules, there's like the red line thing and stuff like that. It is mostly tips, tricks, world building advice, things like this. There's not a lot of in the way of extra tables and character options and like mechanical things that you would go through and redo over and over again or need to use over and over again. That's the only reason it's not higher. If this book was written to be more similar to the way Rust and Redemption were written, like if this had that same level of the extras in it, I feel like The Stars Are Fire would probably have been up there, another like at least spot or two. As it is, it's good advice, but it's not a book I feel I need to reference that often. It's an amazing book and it's given amazing advice, and it's a book that I absolutely adore, but it's not one I have to actually take off my shelf very often. And as a result, it's the only reason it's not higher. Yeah, The Stars of Fire, it's nifty. It's nice. I like it. And I mean, it's my number 5 for a reason. I love sci-fi, and it gives some really good tips, tricks, world building stuff, and a few extra rules and things to go along with it. So it's worth it. I mean, it's in my top 10 for a reason. I just wish there was a few more bits to it is all. My number 4 is the Numenera Boxed Set, Destiny and Discovery. Maybe it's a little bit cheating being 2 books technically, but it's a box set. You can buy it as one thing, so I'm going to consider it one MCG product. I mean, I like sci-fi. A lot of my players like fantasy. Numenera can be played like a fantasy, but it's a sci-fi. It can really kind of be whatever you need it to be for the entire group, which is super awesome because like humanity for the most part has a simpler, almost medieval like society, but you're a billion years in the future. There's super advanced hyper alien tech and stuff like that. So advanced that it feels like magic. And there's some crazy stuff in Numenera. I adore Numenera. Yes, it was the flagship product for MCG, but I mean, it stands up to this day. Numenera is probably one of my favorite all-time settings. It's so unique. It's not like anything else. There's no setting that's like it. I can't think of one. Not even just in RPGs, but even in like novels and shows and stuff. It's a hard stretch to find even anything even remotely like it. And honestly, even just thinking about it, I want to do another Numenera campaign. I want my next campaign to be Numenera. I love it so much. Next is going to be number 3, which is my number 1 genre or toolkit book, and that is Stay Alive. Now, some of you are probably surprised I didn't put the Stars of Fire here instead of Stay Alive. But I feel like Stay Alive has a lot more reasons to take it down off the shelf and reference it and use it more often than the Stars of Fire. And since I'm kind of equally happy with both sci-fi and horror, Stay Alive is definitely the type of book for me, since I kind of blend the genres together and I use horror pretty much in anything that I run. I really like to dabble in a little bit of horror if I can. So Stay Alive is up there because it not only has tips and tricks and advice, but it also has plenty of rules and tools and all sorts of goodness in there. And I like it. Stay Alive is a solid number 3 for me. Number 2, and that is the Cypher System Rulebook. You probably think, well, that's not your number 1. No, it's not my number 1. It's my number 2. Cypher System Rulebook. With this one book, if I had to pick any one book to run a Cypher game, it would be this book, because this is all you need. You could do an infinite number of games with just this book. The genres that it encompasses, the way you can mix and match the characters together, the building blocks it gives you to create your own campaigns in any genre imaginable. If you had to get any book, it would be this one. I think if you play RPGs, this is a book you should have in your collection. It's, even if you didn't play Cypher, there's so much good advice in it, and maybe like little extra side rules and stuff you could steal to put in other systems. There's no reason you shouldn't have this game if you're like serious about tabletop RPGs and you're like really into it as a hobby and stuff. So the Cypher System Rulebook is my number 2 because it's just bloody amazing. If you're going to run a Cypher game, you're going to want this book, hands down. Well, my number 1 is because although it's a Monte Cook Games product, it's not a Cypher product. It is system agnostic and is useful for any game that you run. It doesn't matter on the system. It doesn't matter on the genre, nothing, because it is the weird. This is just a book of tables of cool shit. And each table has like categories of like how like normal to fantastical or weird or whatever it is. And the tables are all over the place as far as like genres and usefulness and what they do. The reason I rate the weird as number 1 is because there's not a single game session I could think of where I wouldn't want to at least be tempted to take this down off the shelf and use it. It doesn't matter what I'm running. I could be running Mouse Ritter or Dragonbane. I could be running a Traveler or anything, Aliens RPG. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I'm running. The weird is useful for anyone. If you play tabletop RPGs, you should buy this book. I don't care what system you play. I don't care what genre you play. You should buy this book. It is just a nice, hefty book of a whole bunch of tables of random crap, relatively well organized. My only complaint with it is the layout. There are sections of the book that are a little hard to read. I wasn't super happy with the layout. I have a review on this book actually, and I mentioned how like the layout I think was the biggest negative aspect of this book. I get where they were going with it. I get it. They wanted to make it weird, but I think that sometimes you got to have readability over coolness factor for a book, especially when it's just like a book of tables you want to reference. But other than that, I mean, this is my number 1 pick for a reason. I can use this book and do use this book all the time. So the weird, that's my number 1. Check it out. Thank you for seeing my top 10. Hopefully this, helped you out a little bit. Maybe some other books you want to check out now. Feel free to list down below what maybe some of your top 10 are, or if you have maybe books you think I should have probably put in here you think I would like, or maybe I had some books in my list where you're like, dude, why isn't it in your top 10? What are you doing? What is that all about? Anywho, I'm going to go because the burning phlegm from the talkies is starting to kick my ass now. The chinchillas want to get fed. Don't you, buddy? He wants to get fed. He's looking at the camera. You can't see him because he's blurry. Anywho, yeah, I'm gonna go feed the chinchillas. I'm gonna go drink a whole lot of like milk or something. Probably a bad idea. I'm lactose intolerant, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Announcements for my own stuff, of course. Applied Democracy is on my drive-through RPG. If you're interested in like a Helldivers 2 Starship Troopers themed style of quick RPG gameplay, go download Applied Democracy. It does use the Cypher system as its base, but it's kind of like, I kind of trimmed things down, honestly, so it's like a lighter bit, so at least as far as like character creation and stuff is concerned. Like you just roll in a couple of tables and you got a character. So it's because you're going to die a lot. I'm just going to say this now. You're going to die a lot. So check it out. As for Void Home, my main thing, development is going very well. Playtest 3 should be coming out very shortly. There's going to be a lot of new things in Playtest 3. I redid some of the mechanics. There's going to be entire like world generation and mission generation tables. There's stuff on exploration and vehicle management. So Playtest 3 is going to be a chunky one. And then after that, we'll be working towards Playtest 4. So go check out my Ko-fi. That is where my Void Home stuff is. You can buy into the early access. Once early access is over, of course, the price will raise to its normal price. So if you want to buy into it a little bit cheaper, now might be the time, because we're getting closer and closer to a release date. Honestly, the book's coming along quickly. Considering I'm a solo guy that's basically doing all of the work myself, the book's coming along a lot quicker than you'd think it would be. As usual, since I've turned off monetization on videos like this, go to my Ko-fi if you want to support me. If you like what I do, if you want to give a couple of bucks for this Canuck for some brewskis, go over there and toss a few. Only if you're able. Only if you want to. No pressure. No biggie. And with that, as always, stay healthy, stay safe, and have a good one, eh?
Wiggle